Is an AD100 really brighter than an AD300? Let's find out. And what about Profoto? Stick around. Alright, today we're going to talk about can-shaped flashes, the 100, the 300, the Profoto, and this mystery one, which is going to surprise you. In fact, we've got a lot of shocking surprises today. For the third time, I got an AD300. You know, the other times, every 2 years, I buy one, I try it, and I give it away. Well, I got it again. I got a third one because I just cannot believe that this 300 is not as bright as this 100. Now, you're going to go, no way. Alright, let's just get right to it and test it. Come on. Okay, so here we have a bare AD100 right out of the box. We'll set to 85 millimeter. I'm going to push the flash button and we go over here to the meter and it says 11.3, 8 feet away. Okay, I'm going to set it to 28 millimeter, put a Fresnel on the front, push flash, and it says 11.7. Okay, so this is just with a Fresnel. Tiny little soda can size thing with a Fresnel on the front. 11.7 at 8 feet. Let's get the almighty AD300 and put this on here. Right out of the box with the factory reflector. Let's put this on here. Okay, turn it on. All right, we push flash and it says 8.07. Do you see that? Less brightness than the AD100 right out of the box. Okay, so let's take out this stupid reflector that they have on here because that's part of the reason right here. Let's get an ADR14. This is a better reflector. It has diffusion on the front. Let's stick that on there. Push flash. And we have 11.0. So we went up almost a stop there. That's really good. And this has got a diffuser on the front. All right, now let's go up one more stop from the ADR14 to the RFT23. I don't have a diffuser for this, but this one has facets. So let's stick that on there. Push flash. And this is 11.7. So we went from 8.07 to 11.7. This is as bright as you're going to get with a AD300 with a reflector on there with no diffusion. Two of these together weigh less than one of these. And one of these is still brighter than this. So let's move on. Now I know this isn't a tube-shaped light, but a lot of you have AD200, so I'm just going to throw this in here real quick. And this has the ADS2 with the diffusion on the front, which is the way I always use these. I test these in the manner that I always use them. So let's do this. Here we go. And that flashed, and it says 11.6. So the AD200 with diffusion is pretty much just as bright as an AD300 with no diffusion and the brightest reflector you can get. I like this. It looks cool, but it's heavier and it's still not as bright as an AD200 or an AD100. That's what boggles my mind. For the weight and the size, I would rather do a 200. All right, now here's an interesting tube-shaped flash. This is a Neewer Q300. This thing is big. Obviously, it's almost as big as an AD600, but this is the way it comes. It comes with this reflector, and it's a 300 watt second, which is the same power as the AD300. These are rated at the same 300 watt seconds. This is almost half the price of the AD300. Push the flash, and it says 16.3. Look at that, 16.3. This thing is almost as bright as an AD600. That's amazing. Now I know there's no diffusion on the front, so let's test it with diffusion and see what that reads like. And it's 16.1. So it's just like 1 or 2/10 of a stop less with diffusion. So it's super bright even with diffusion on the front. This is quite a surprise. $270 for this thing, $499 for this thing, and it's not even as bright. Now I know it's smaller, it's Godox and all that. Now, yeah, you do need your special flash trigger for the Neewer. While we're on the subject of Neewers, this is the Q4. This is a 400 watt second. So this is more power than the last one. It's a cool looking one, it's kind of flat. Let's set that up. Now this is with the factory reflector on the front, so it's not going to be, this is the reflector that sucks. So here we go, push flash, and it's 11.4. So let's take off this stupid reflector and put on the left photo curved faceted one with the diffusion on the front. Remember, this is with diffusion on the front. All right, push flash here, and this is, look at that, 16.7. Wow, it went up a whole stop. 16.7 So now we're in this is the same brightness as an AD600. I know what you're thinking. Well, what about Profoto? Profoto, ooh, the ultimate. That's tube shaped and it's like the best. This is the mother of all flashes. Yeah, let's test the Profoto. So I've got both the B10X and the B10X Plus. The B10X is 250 watt seconds and the other one is 500. So let's start with this one. Let's line it up. There we go. What do we got? 8.09. Not very impressive, is it? Now, this is the way it comes with the flat front. So let's spice it up a bit. Let's put the OCF zoom reflector on here. This reflector is about the right size for this kind of a flash. You ready? And flash. And this one is 11.9, almost 16, not bad. That's pretty good. Let's do a bigger reflector on here. Let's do a OCF Magnum. Now, this thing is huge. This is actually bigger than the 7-inch that the other ones come with. So this is almost too big for me. I don't like the size of this, but it does boost the light a little bit more. So let's try this. Here we have 11.9. It's the same. Well, that's not too impressive. If you're going to use Profoto, I would say forget the Magnum reflector. It's just too big and bulky. I don't like it. I like the zoom. This thing it's about the right size for that kind of a flash. All right, that's the 250 watt second. Let's do the B10X Plus. It's 500 watt seconds. This one should be promising, shouldn't it? 500 watt seconds, here we go, and flash. It's 11.9. It's almost 16, almost the same. All right, so let's put the OCF zoom on there. This should make a difference now. And, all right. Here we have 16.8. There we go. We got almost a stop more. So that really helps. Since this is a bigger flash, let's put a bigger reflector on there. Flash. 22. All right, it's just a little bit more, maybe 0.2 of a stop. So again, I'm not too crazy about this reflector. You know, the whole idea in my life is to keep things small and portable. So again, I like this. This is a 500 watt. It's just a little bit smaller, not much. It's a little lighter, but it's not that much smaller. It is a little bit smaller, but you know, it's not like incredibly smaller, but it is smaller. All right, I know what you're saying. You're going, yeah, but it's a softbox where you can tell the difference of the power of the flashes. And you're right. That is where you can tell the... Now, I don't use a lot of softboxes. I normally shoot with a reflector and a diffuser like I've been showing you because I want the maximum light output when I'm outdoors in bright sunlight. And I don't have to deal with the wind blowing over the softboxes. And it gives me a nice dramatic look that I really like. I like working with hard light. But anyway, yeah, when you put a light in a softbox, that's when you see the output difference. But I still use the little 100s in a softbox outdoors in the middle of the day in bright sunlight like I did here in Death Valley. So you can use the little 100s in a softbox outdoors if you know what you're doing. So right now I've got an AD100 in this Flip 32 here. Let's push the power button, the flash. Here we go. And this we got. Okay, we got 4.09. All right, so let's switch out the AD100 with a AD300. The cool thing about the Flip 32 is you can take the adapter out for the 100 and put in an adapter for a 300. So this is a multi-purpose softbox. It's great. You can put all kinds of stuff in here. Okay, we're at max power, push flash, and we're at 569. It's about a 2/3 of a stop difference. To get the most amount of light when you're out in bright sunlight and need all the power you can get, you don't usually use softboxes. You use reflectors, and I might put that plastic diffusion over the front of the reflector. That's usually how I shoot when I'm outdoors. I sometimes use these, but when I want maximum light, I obviously don't. So anyway, yeah, you do get a little bit more. This is the only place where you can see a difference in the power of the 300 over the 100 is with a softbox. Now, some of you are going to say the reason the 300 isn't as bright is because it spreads the light out wider and more evenly. Well, I don't want to light up the whole room. That may be good if you're doing architectural interiors, but I'm not. I do portraits and I want most of my light focused around a person. To light up a whole room is a serious waste of light and power. And even at the 85mm setting, the 100 is still pretty wide, enough to light up 3 people with a nice soft fall off. Another reason the 100 is brighter is it has a Fresnel built into it. The 300 doesn't. It has this frosted bulb on the front, which softens the light, but it kills the light too. So out of all that testing, I don't know if you caught this or not, but there were some really interesting facts. For example, this Profoto B10X with the OCF zoom has the same output as an AD100 with a Fresnel on it. You can buy 6 of these for 1 of these. And while we're at it, the B10X is just the 250 watt second version with the OCF zoom reflector is only 1/10 of a stop less than the 500 watt second B10X Plus like this in its bare form. So all you need is a $200 or $150, whatever it is, OCF zoom reflector to make your 250 watt second Profoto the same brightness as a B10X Plus, which is 500 watt seconds. I'm talking about using lights like this, not using softboxes. A Godox AD300 with an RFT23 reflector with diffusion on the front of that is the same output as an AD200 with the ADS2 with diffusion on the front of it. The ADR14 reflector with the diffusion on the front is actually 2/3 of a stop less. Now the ADR14 with the diffusion, you know, this is my favorite, the ADS2 with the 200. This is what whenever I use a 200, it's always what I use. This looks like the AD300 version of that, doesn't it? It looks very, very similar. And this looks like a nice package. It looks like just the right, I mean, for having a small flash with a small reflector, this looks like a good deal, but this ADR14 is not very bright. In fact, the ADR14 with the diffusion on it is actually 1/3 of a stop dimmer than just using a bare AD100. That's right, this is 1/3 of a stop less than this, just bare, using this at an 85mm. The Neewer Q300 with diffusion on the front is actually brighter than a B10X with an OCF Magnum on the front. That's the really big, bright one on there. So this is a 300 watt second, cheap $270 flash. This is brighter, with diffusion on the front, is brighter than a Profoto 250 watt second with a Magnum reflector on the front, with no diffusion on the front of that. And the Q300, still with diffusion on the front, is brighter than a 500 watt second Profoto B10X Plus bare, like right out of the box like this. This is 500 watt seconds, this is 300 watt seconds, but this has a reflector on the front, which makes it brighter. So this is brighter like this than a bare Profoto 500 watt second B10X Plus. Now, if you put a reflector on the front of the B10X Plus, now this is 1 stop brighter than this, but it takes a reflector to do that. And now the B10X Plus, which is 500 watt seconds with the reflector, is as bright as a AD600. So that's pretty good. I mean, an AD600 is big and heavy. This weighs less and it's a little smaller and you get the same output. So that's pretty cool. So again, the Q300 is about the same brightness as a B10X with an OCF zoom reflector, but this is $1,700 cheaper. Not bad for a $270 300 watt second flash. $2,000, $270. And this is really dependable. I like this a lot. Controls on this are really easy. They're really fun to use. The controls and the trigger on the Profoto, they're a little, it takes some getting used to. If you're out there in the world and you're banging around your stuff and, you know, it's windy and I'd be so worried about each one of these things costing $2,000, and if the thing fell over or broke or, geez, I'd be so worried about this thing all the time. All this other stuff, if something falls and breaks, hey, it's a couple $100, no big deal, right? You're spending the whole time not enjoying yourself. I'd rather enjoy myself. Now let's get back to Godox, because most people don't have Profoto. One AD100 is not only brighter than an AD300, but the 300 is heavier than 2 100s. This is still heavier than both of these, and one of these is brighter than that. So the 100s come in at 1.2 pounds, the 200s are 2.3, the 300 is 2.8, then the B10X, which is the 250 watt second version, 3.3 pounds, then the B10X Plus, then the Q300, then the Q4, and then coming in at a whopping basically 7 pounds is the AD600. So you could still have 3 AD100s and be less weight than one Profoto B10X Plus. Now this is not that heavy compared to an AD600. Okay, price. If you don't mind the size and the weight, the Neewer Q300 is by far the best bang for the buck. Now let's talk about size. Nothing beats the AD100 for size, and it's brighter than a 250 watt second B10X. The B10X is a nice small size, well, kind of, sort of, but it costs $1,800, and it isn't as bright as an AD100 out of the box. I'm talking about just like this. So you take them out of the box and go flash. This is brighter. better than this. The AD300 is considerably bigger, heavier, and not as bright. Look at the size difference between the AD100 and the AD300. This is considerably heavier, bigger, and costs more, weighs more, and everything else. And it's not as bright. So for size, weight, power, and price, it's still the AD100 and 200. And this bare bulb attachment on the 200 is gold. This is what makes this thing powerful, and this is what you should be using on the 200. And you don't need the new 200. You don't need the Pro version. I have 5 of these, and it's the original one. They're just as powerful. All these modifiers, look how small this is. This is a great modifier here. It's got a quantum connector, and I have a lot of these quantum connectors. It goes right on the AD200 like this, and what a great way to go. So fast and easy. The 500 watt second Profoto B10X Plus with the OCF zoom reflector is a really nice package. It's not very big. It's quite powerful for the power and the size that it is, but it's $2,400. That's $2,500. You can buy half a dozen of any of these other ones pretty much for the same price as one of these. Again, Profotos may be smaller, but do you really want to spend your time worrying about these things rather than having fun? And not only that, if the bulb needs replacing, like some of these other ones, you just pull the bulb out and put a new one in. It's no big deal. These things, you got to send them into the factory. It costs a lot of time and money to do anything on those. So they're good, but I don't think those few little things that makes them different really validates the price. Even though I have them, I still like using these. These are smaller, more fun. If one of them drops, no big deal. I've actually dropped 1 or 2 and they still work. I mean, it's no problem. Anyway, small and lightweight is everything. And the fact that I can get away with cheap, that's good too. Makes me feel like that's kind of cool. But I gotta say this, and don't get me wrong, all these flashes are great. These are all good flashes. I know some of you have 300s. Don't get mad at me. Don't get upset. It works. It's a good flash. It's fun. It's small. It's a nice size. It's, there's nothing wrong with this flash. It's just not as bright as some of these other ones. And for the price, this is $500. This is $270. And this is a lot brighter. This is $500. And this is only $300. And this is brighter than this. Those are the things that because for me, I want to get the most power when I travel and I hike and I carry this heavy, one of these isn't heavy, but when you have 3 of them, then it adds up. And then you've got your tripods and your cameras and your lenses and all that. So every ounce counts. The Profotos are really expensive. If you can afford them and you don't mind having, you like to feel professional and all that, and it's slick looking and it makes you feel like you got somewhere in life by having Profotos, great. I'm happy for you. I can afford them, but I like the Godoxes personally. This is a nice, I like the size. I just wish it was actually 3 times brighter than the 100, which is not. So that's kind of all I'm saying is, whatever you have, get it because you like it, get it because it's for you and it's your kind of thing, and you get it for you. It's whatever makes it work for you. That's what matters. In my opinion, I'm just giving you numbers and facts and stuff like that. You decide what works for you. Some of you might like the 300, great, get it. I like the 100s and 200s, and I kind of like, even though it's big and clunky, this thing is such a shock. This thing was amazing how powerful this is for a 300. I mean, if you don't mind the size and weight, this thing is a much more sensible choice than this, or this 300 is nowhere near as powerful as this 300. And size-wise, I mean, these are kind of similar, but this is $1,800 cheaper. So, all right, so I hope this helped in some way. I hope you got something out of it. I love lighting. I love flashes. I love anything that has to do with light stands and lights and flashes and LEDs. I just love that. So anyway, hope you got something out of it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.